What are you waiting for? Do it! Just do it!
Hello everyone, hope you're all having a wonderful day. So Remnant 2 had a massive patch drop yesterday, one that we've all been eagerly waiting for. The massive nerfs to the overall XP needed to level both your Prism and to re-roll your legendary fragment. Woohoo! Which hopefully people's prayers have been answered with that really big change. And in this massive patch there was also loads of powerful buffs to a lot of underperforming weapons and mods, which was really great to see. Boom! Pow! Ka-chow! Zap! Boom! Pow! Haven't gone through and tested out all these changes yet, but so far they all feel pretty amazing. So massive props to the dev team. They've absolutely knocked it out of the stadium with this update. But I wanted to focus on one change, and one change that I've been very excited for, and that is the big buff to a little mod called Astral Burst. So Astral Burst has had its mod charge increased by 1, so instead of 2 it has 3 charges. It has also had its damage doubled from 35 to 70, which is absolutely mental. I nearly fell over when I saw that bloody change. Weak spot damage has been slightly increased, and also tighter spread for the projectiles that this mod does shoot out. So Astral Burst has been hit with that super juice and has been taken from a pretty alright mod to an absolute powerhouse of a mod. So I've decided to throw a quick little build together to show you how strong this mod really is now. So us mod enjoyers are eating good after this patch, boys, because the devs friggin' cooked. So there's a lot of different ways you can set this build up, but I have decided to go with Archon paired up with Warden to get the most out of our mod damage while also having a little bit of extra survivability. Since this is a close range mod spamming build, a little extra survivability goes a long way. And trust me when I say this build has no problem when it comes to damage. The damage with Astral Burst now is kind of ridiculous. Most bosses aren't going to last any longer than 20 to 30 seconds if you get the setup down correctly, basically turning Apocalypse difficulty into friggin' easy mode. We've got great mod generation with the reaction chain amulet, and also because we're taking Archon's prime perk, and like I mentioned before, we've actually got pretty decent survivability thanks to Warden and the really annoying drone that totally doesn't get in the way ever. So overall, very solid build, very fun to use, and it's all thanks to the new change to that Astral Burst mod, which will have you bursting your way through Apocalypse difficulty. Alright, enough of my intro bullshit, let's jump into what we're actually taking with this particular setup. So I'm going to talk about the fragment and the prisms first. I feel like this is a great place to start. So for the fragments, I've got crit damage, mod crit chance, and also mod power generation. And if you point your eyeballs down into the right corner, you will see that I am using legendary fragment. I am using power fantasy. There's plenty of other legendary fragments you could use with this setup, like Wrecking Ball. You could also use the double mod charges, more mod power generation, jack of all trades. There's plenty of other legendary fragments that you could slot into this build. I just had power fantasy here, so I just thought I would use it with this particular setup. Now you're probably wondering, does power fantasy work with Astral Burst mod? I'm pretty sure it does. Astral Burst does count as explosive damage. It does work with the detonation trigger, and I'm sure it does get boosted by other explosive damage bonuses. So I would like to assume that Power Fantasy should be giving it extra crit and also extra crit damage. If it doesn't, let me know. Like I said, there's plenty of other legendary fragments you can take. This is just one that I already had on a Prism, so I just assumed that it would work with this setup. So I have spoken about the Power Fantasy Legendary Fragment before. I really do enjoy it. There's no real difference between Wrecking Ball and Power Fantasy, because with Power Fantasy you can just load on the crit chance and you'll have a little bit extra crit damage. It's very easy to get near 100% crit chance. Wrecking Ball gives you the 100% crit chance, and then you can just load on more crit damage. For the rest of my Prism, I have mod crit chance, which is definitely helping here. Health bonus, which is just nice. I've got Sapper here, which should be working with this build. Mage, which is definitely working with this build. And Pirate, which is completely obsolete. Don't even worry about that one. Moving on over to the skills. Like I said, we're taking Archon and Warden. And for the skills, I am using Chaos Gate and Drone Shield. Now, the Drone Shield is mainly for survivability, bit of extra survivability, and the Chaos Gate is mainly to further increase our overall damage. Now for the armor I'm running, I got Night Stalker Shroud, I've got Bruiser Body Plate, I got the Bruiser Boots, and I've also got the Bruiser Gloves. For the heart, I am running the Quilted Heart. There's no real designated heart for this build, just use whatever you feel comfortable or what you like using. For me, it's the Quilted Heart just because it gives infinite stam and you're able to just rush through boss rush that little bit quicker. For the weapons, I've got Sparkfire Shotgun, my absolute favorite weapon, kitted out with Astral Burst and the Feedback Mutator. Not really using Sparkfire Shotgun at all, but it is nice to apply that fire status effect for that little bit extra damage overall. But the main star of the show, the new kid on the block, is Astral Burst. Like I said in the intro, this went through a very significant buff. Damage has been doubled, it's got an extra mod charge, more weak spot damage, and the projectiles and the spread has now been made tighter, which means it's easier to hit all 7 fragments onto the enemy. So overall, the buff to the Astral Burst is very significant. The way this mod works is it's basically like a shotgun. It's a shotgun that shoots out 7-star fragments. So the closer you are to the enemy, the easier it is to hit all those 7-star fragments. And that's basically the idea, is you want to try and hit all those fragments to obviously get the most amount of damage out of this mod. With this setup, each charge of the Astral Burst hits for about 6k, so with all 3 charges dumped, you get about 18,000, 19,000 damage very quickly. It's a very quick mod, and it recharges very quickly because it only has 450 mod power requirements, so very easy to recharge. And additionally, each fragment can bounce off the wall up to 3 times, doing 10% extra damage. I wouldn't really rely on using it this way. You can shoot the floor in front of an enemy and hope that they all hit the enemy, but it is just much easier just to shoot the enemy directly anyway. It is nice that if you miss the enemy, it can bounce off the wall and come back and hit them and do more damage. Now we do have the Feedback Mutator. I found this was the best just to keep that mod spam consistency going, being able to get your Astral Burst back consistently while also dropping your Flying Bomb Trap or whatever mod you want to use. I'll give you guys a couple of different options. There is one other mutator I was playing around with, and that is Pressure Point. Since we are up very close and personal trying to use Astral Burst, I thought Pressure Point would be a good slot in. It does give you a little bit of extra damage, but I thought with just having more consistency with the mod spam, Feedback was the better option. I think Failsafe would also probably work really well because you have 3 charges, so you might have a chance to not consume those charges, and then Failsafe would be increasing your overall mod damage. Didn't really test that out too much, but Feedback seemed to work the best for mod consistency. And Pressure Point seems to be the best if you want to get even more damage out, if you don't mind getting up super close and personal. So for my handgun, I've got the Silverback Model 500, kitted out with Flying Bomb Trap and the Harmonizer Mutator. The main reason I got the Flying Bomb Traps here is because it's going to help us apply that corrosive dot on the target, giving us that 10% increase to all damage. And I gotta say, I just like this mod. I'm a big fan of this mod. The only negative to it is the fact it is stationary. I don't think it matters too much since we are trying to get up close and personal to the enemy or the boss to nuke them down as fast as possible, and we can just stand on the Flying Bomb Trap while spamming Astral Bursters at the enemy, and they're going to get nuked pretty quickly. And I felt like Harmonizer was the best fit because it is going to give mod power back to Astral Burst, so we can keep spamming Astral Burst as much as possible. Since this is our main damage source, we want to have as much mod generation for Astral Burst as possible. So now for one other mod I have been trying out that is insanely strong now, and that is the Skewer 2.0. They really need to call this the Skewer 3.0 because this motherfucker just leveled up. So the Skewer did also get buffed. This mod is insanely strong. It's absolutely no joke. I highly recommend you guys try this one out as well. Now moving on over to the amulets and the rings. There's nothing here that I haven't spoken about before, so I'm just going to quickly go over it. So we've got Reaction Chain here. This is a must if you want to mod spam as consistently as possible. You need Reaction Chain. I was trying to find other ways to get this build to work. I always came back to Reaction Chain, unfortunately. So it is an insanely strong amulet for mod builds, and I think it will continue to be that way. So we have Burden of the Gambler, Burden of the Destroyer, Probability Cord, and the Braided Thorn. Alrighty guys, Ozzy here from the future. I've made a bit of a mistake with the build, and I am here to rectify it. So I have taken off Burden of the Destroyer and put Burden of the Follower. This is going to give us more mod generation, makes the build feel a hell of a lot better. Because we have done that, you're going to want to take mod generation off on your fragment and just put in mod damage. And then with Astral Burst, I had Feedback Mutator. Fuck that off, don't care about it. Pressure Point is the way to go. Big PP energy all day, every day. Sorry for the scuff video guys, this is a much better setup. Just put Burden of the Follower on, change the fragment, and just use Pressure Point and you will be good to go. So for the trade points, we've got 10 points into Strong Back, 10 points into Fortified, 10 points into Affliction, 10 points into Regrowth, 9 additional points into Vigor. We got 7 additional points into Spirit. We got 10 points into Siphoner, 10 points into Bark Skin, 4 additional points into Endurance, and then also 5 points into Expertise. So now I just want to show you guys how I use this build and how I think it works the best. So you just want to kind of shoot out your Flying Bomb Traps. You want to use 2 Astral Burst, go back to Bomb Trap, 2 Astral Burst, go back to Bomb Trap, 2 Astral Burst, go back to Bomb Trap, 2 Astral Burst, go back to Bomb. You kind of get the idea here. You can obviously go more Astral Burst because you're always going to be getting that mod power back. But just be careful that you might run out on charges. I feel like the 2-1 combo is the best. But yeah, you can obviously just dump all the mod charges, go back to Flying Bomb Trap. You know, you can apply the Fire Stats effect every now and then. And you do have pretty good damage. I'm not really trying here. And I'm getting like, you know, just under 7,000 DPS per second, which is very, very good. Not the best, but it is up there, that's for sure. And then if you were to use Chaos Gate with this, so just so you guys can kind of see what the damage looks like, it's pretty respectable, I gotta say. You know, you get up to, there was 9,000. I'm starting to drop off a little bit here. I'm dropping off, I'm falling off, boys. But you can get 8,000 DPS. It's very respectable damage. Like, most bosses aren't going to last more than 20-30 seconds with this build, considering that you can get about 200,000 damage out in about 20 seconds. So, very, very strong setup. I'm having a lot of fun with this setup. And there's not too many bosses that you're going to run into where you can't get this build to work. Even stuff like Lydusa, Alepsis Tura, this build, why it doesn't nuke them as quickly, it still gets the job done very effectively. And in fact, to deal with Lydusa and Alepsis Tura a little bit better, I would highly recommend putting the Skewer on, just because the Flying Bomb Traps aren't going to be as reliable, and that way you can just keep hitting with the mods and you will probably have more damage overall. So that is basically it for the build video, guys. Hopefully this video did help you out. If there's anything you think I could do to improve this build, let me know down in the comment section. I'm always keen to hear your guys' thoughts. Appreciate all the love and support as always, guys. And until next time, stay safe. Peace out.